Hi everyone, it's Brenda back again with another episode of Three Uniques. Today I have on Iona Bonamis. Hi Iona, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me here.
It's so great to have you on. So, for our listeners, Iona is a first generation Chinese Canadian born and raised in Vancouver, otherwise known as the Coastal Salish Territory of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations. She's a senior transportation planner with the City of Vancouver. She runs her own small business, which is called A Healthy Beginning. So, we'll learn about that today and what she's doing in that. And then this is, I think, which is phenomenal. I'm so excited about seeing more women joining politics, whether it's at the federal, provincial, or state, if you're from the US, and municipal level. So Iona is running to be a one city candidate. I want to make sure I get that right for city council for Vancouver. So that's amazing.
Yeah, that's right. I know it is something I'm very excited about.
It's so great to have you here. So tell us anything else that I missed that we need to know about you.
Well, I think very importantly, I am also a mom to two young kids. So I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. So yeah, being a parent has definitely motivated me to do a lot of things that I am doing now, including my small business as well as trying to run for council. So that's yeah, a big part of my life.
Amazing. That's so great that you're, and again, I think it's amazing that you're running for city council with all these things that you've got going on. So talk to us a little bit about your small business. I was asking you about it before, so it's you fill us in. It's called A Healthy Beginning, and we'll make sure that people can find it in the show notes.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, so it's a business that I started when I had my older son. And when I became pregnant with him, I'd always known about kind of the harmful chemicals that are in a lot of personal care products. And I just wanted to do as much as I could to give my baby the best start in life that I could. So I enrolled in a program where I learned about environmental toxins and how to reduce it in our home. And then I also, in the program, I learned how I could help other people to do it. So that's kind of how I started. I did we did our home kind of basically a reassessment and kind of culled everything that wasn't safe. And I started making a lot of my own products and I learned how to do that as well. And that became another branch of my business. So I started teaching people how to reduce their toxins in their home, how to make their own body care products.
Mhm.
Then a little while later, people asked me if I could just make products for themselves, for them, because they didn't have time. So then I started my own line of all natural, all handmade, natural body care products that I offer online and also sell at a lot of markets and some stores as well in the region here.
That's amazing. And then,
Yeah.
okay, let's talk a little bit about running for office, running for municipal government. So why start that now? You've got lots of
Yeah.
to go. Why add that?
I do, yeah. And as I said, my two young boys have really inspired me to do more to ensure their future is protected, to ensure that the city continues to be livable for them and for the other kids. And I've always been interested in sustainable communities, and so I've been involved in sustainable initiatives for over 20 years. And then I have the city planning experience that I've had for 13 years. In the last 4 years, I've been working at the city as a senior transportation planner. Um, and yeah, being a parent, I think any kind of parent can relate. Like you want to do everything you can to protect the future of your kids,
Mhm.
and so I have felt this calling that for me to do more, particularly on issues like climate change and inclusion and affordability. Like those are three things that I think are really urgent issues that we need to tackle at the city, at the regional, at the federal level, and at all levels of government. So that's why I want to kind of put my foot forward and throw my name in the ring and do more than I am able to do currently right now.
I think that's fabulous. I was really inspired by our last election here in Vancouver because I think that was the first time in history where we had the majority of seats in city council were held by women after this last election, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that's hugely inspiring. Did that also, incentivize you or open the door to the possibility of going and just seeing more women going into municipal politics?
Yeah, definitely. I think we have a pretty good gender balance right now on council. I think in terms of like racial and ethnic diversity, we could have more of that for sure at all levels of leadership. And so I would like to see that and help contribute to that as well. And yeah, inclusion and having a more inclusive city is one of the things that I'm committed to.
Absolutely. And I think we've seen that probably over the last couple of years, just with obviously some of the societal issues that have been going on as a result of the pandemic. But even we know historically they've been there before
Mhm.
it, right? You know, it's like we have
Yeah.
to like
Yeah.
pull back the curtain and just know that it's always been there foundationally. Um, have you seen differences, I guess, in the city as a result of sort of some of the, the recent just incidences of racism, discrimination? I mean, I know we're not necessarily, we don't get a hall pass from this. Like we know there's been explosive situations that have happened in the US or other parts of Canada. We've seen on social media, in the news. Vancouver is not like absent from that.
Yeah.
Is there anything that like I guess from a perspective of like what you would see different as a result of you being on city council and putting in some of the things that you really care about?
Mhm. Yeah, I think we have come a long ways in the region and in Vancouver in making our spaces more diverse. And what I'd like to see is having those underrepresented voices, like women, still women in many cases are still underrepresented, and people of color, seniors, people with disabilities, those voices that, and people of low income as well. Those voices were represented in our elected bodies and our levels of leadership, and also in terms of us, in terms of the engagement that we do, to have more of those voices considered in the city, those city conversations.
Well, I think even by just having you on the podcast today, right, and just getting out your mission around, what you would do if you were in public office and were able to serve a larger body of people, and being a representative, I think, woman of color. I love the fact that, first generation Chinese Canadian. So obviously there's some learnings from that, just like growing up in Canada, in Vancouver, and what that experience has been like. So I think you can bring that perspective for sure, which is amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Small business owner, mom,
Mhm.
lots of that way. So that's amazing. So
Yeah.
you're here today to also share your three uniques with us.
Mhm.
So this is where it's like, yeah, I just turn over the mic to you. You go ahead and share them with us. I'm excited to hear them.
Sure, yeah. I'd say so. My first one is connectedness. I have a strong desire, and kind of my way of being is wanting to connect people and break down silos and help people figure out how to break down those barriers to work more collaboratively together. Um, it's something that I do kind of in my small business and at work right now, and I think that is something that I would be really helpful to bring to a decision-making body as well. And to tackle all of these big issues, we really need to work together, right? It
Mhm.
can't be just one party. That just won't work. And I think COVID has been a really good experience. Like we've had some really quick responses to COVID, and we were able to do a lot of great things in a very short amount of time. So
Mhm.
if we work collectively like that to tackle these other issues, I think we can achieve a lot.
Amazing.
Um, yeah, and then the other one is I am also a natural achiever, so I'm always wanting to do more, to do better, to better myself and also the community around me, and so kind of the city as a whole. So I'm always looking for ways to, like, I don't have a target necessarily, but I'm always looking at what are the next things that we can do? What are the other things that other cities could be are doing that we are successful that we could be bringing to the city?
And question for you, between your first unique and your second unique, I'm always curious, like, has there been like a mentor or a coach, someone who's advised you along the way, either from like, teenager to young adult to where you are now in your career and your personal life that sort of helped guide you, or someone significant that you turn to that's inspired you in these areas of your three uniques?
Yeah, I've had a few mentors over the course of my career, and I'd say, yeah, that has been of incredible value to be able to have that uh, another perspective on issues that, I'm coming across and I'm just having trouble figuring out, seeing past, my own perspective. Having that outside perspective, having a sounding board, really, really important. And somebody who helps me see what my strengths are as well is really important, because I think sometimes being an achiever, I can also kind of be a little bit more critical of myself than I should be. So it's nice to have someone kind of point out what I am doing well and then what I could, and then also how do I strengthen my current strengths.
Okay, great. Thank
Yeah.
you. And then your third unique.
Yeah, my third unique is being a learner.
Mhm.
So it definitely is tied to kind of being an achiever and always wanting to learn. Um, uh, I'm doing the Unleash program right now with you,
Right.
so I'm learning a lot from that, doing other courses and even starting out my own small business. It was a big learning curve. It was something I was curious about for a while. And that's how I like to approach things as well, as like being curious about new things and not just saying no or just saying yes automatically, kind of just trying to learn about an issue as much as I can, understanding the different perspectives before I kind of form an opinion or a decision.
Thanks for sharing that. So my question around learning, because it's like I'm a learner too. I'm very curious, like from a nature standpoint, curious by nature. And I think sometimes the flip side to learning is also how you navigate failure or mishaps. So is there like a favorite failure or a mishap that you can recall that you feel comfortable sharing with us? And kind of like what was it and how did you navigate through it?
Okay. I don't know if I have one particular example, but I find that sometimes I can be, as I said, be a bit critical of myself if I don't get things right. Like if I'm presenting an idea or something, and people can offer suggestions, I'd be like, oh, I should have thought about that, and then afterwards, I'm able to process it and think like, I can't expect myself to understand and think of everything,
Right.
but it is part of the learning process to hear what other people can see that I can't see at that moment.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think as long as I think you can tie it back to learning and then pull out, like you said, like the nuggets, then that's awesome. That's great. Um, what's one of the most worthwhile investments you've made on yourself? And so investment doesn't necessarily mean like, a stock tip that I'm looking for, but just, something where you've really felt like, hey, I did this for myself and I got a huge payback or a payoff, say within the last like couple years.
Um, I'd say my small business is probably something that has been definitely a big jump for me. I didn't see myself as being an entrepreneur. Had a job already. I had a very stable and fulfilling job, but I wanted to try something else. And while it's been a lot of work, it also has been very fulfilling for me. And it's great. It's allowed me to have this creative outlet. And I think that's really helpful for balancing kind of emotional and physical stresses that I have, in other parts of my life.
Right.
And it can help me reduce my levels of anxiety. So while it's work, it's a different type of work. It's creative work, and it allows me to have an outlet.
Amazing. And then another question I have for you, I want to go back to like your three uniques and then tying it back into running for public office. How do you feel? I mean, you did talk about it a few things as far as like being the collaborator, the connector. But overall, how do you feel like your three uniques will really add service or value to city council and not only to the other council people that you're working with, but obviously the community at large?
Yeah. So as I said, I think working across party lines is really important. I think a lot of people talk about it, but maybe it's not put into practice a lot. I'm hoping that I can, really stay true to my value, and if I do get elected, that I am able to that value and principle. And be able to work alongside, OneCity counselors as well as the counselors in the other parties. And I think working with the public and other community groups will also be very important as well, establishing those relationships and learning what their needs are, how we can best support them will be a very key piece also to achieving these things, these targets and goals. And being a learner, of course, like I think there's so many issues that I am right now learning about, and it's a wide breadth of issues, and I think being open to learning different perspectives from different counselors, from different community groups, from different people in the public. I think that is also key, and not necessarily, might have my opinion, but I think remaining open to those other perspectives and pieces of information is important.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
what's your riding for Vancouver?
So in the municipal election, it's actually there are no ridings.
That's
So
right. Yeah, you just
yeah,
yeah. Okay, that I remember.
yeah,
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
right, yeah.
so you're just like everywhere. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All
Which
right.
is interesting and challenging.
Well, the good thing is that anyone that's listening to this podcast today, like myself, I'm just like, okay, how do I vote for Iona? Because sometimes I've, obviously interviewed other people that are in public office, but I'm like, oh, you're not in my riding, so it's like I can't vote for you. But anyone that's listening from Vancouver,
Yeah.
it's like, when is the election too that's coming up?
So the actual election is in October, mid-October.
Of
Um,
2022.
yeah, 2022 this year.
Yeah.
This March, though, OneCity will be doing a nomination vote. So there are more candidates, more people running than there will
Okay.
be seats that OneCity will be running. So the first step is to actually get through that nomination vote. So anybody who is a member, who wants to be a member, if they sign up before midnight, February 6th, then they can participate in that nomination vote in early March.
Okay, well, we'll make sure that that also gets shared in the show notes too, so people know where to go, and we'll add some links in there to OneCity's website. Iona, it's been great having you on today. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing your three uniques with us, and good luck with the upcoming election.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Take care.
Yeah, you too.